Oops. I'm already in it. I meant to put up my Ignite banner, which I usually do. I didn't. It's February. Whatever. It's happening. Hi there, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm Trisha Broderick with Ignite Insight and Innovation. And I am here with February's live stream of 2024. I'm not even sure where January went. I feel like this is a constant reoccurrence in my life at this point, but we're going to make it work and go with it. So last month, I talked a lot about just writing the book and things that I had from that dynamic. I thought I'd do part 2 a little bit here in terms of what happens after publishing, because I did not know. I did not know at all. It was a surprise for me and what that meant. So step 1, get a plan. And I stupidly kind of thought my publisher would have this big, massive plan. And they did. They had some dynamics of it. But the reality is Diana and I had to come together. It's like, when do we want to tweet or post things on LinkedIn? When do we want to do live streams? When do we want to, which conferences do we want to speak at? Where do we want to promote our books? And how do we want to do that? What ways do we want to do book clubs? Like, it was almost overwhelming, the amount of options and things to do after the book was released. And no concept. And we did a little bit of scheduling, and then we got in a rhythm, and we found a couple things that really worked for us. But I think if I were to do it again, I would get a little bit further in the calendar, a little bit further in variety in terms of which markets, who I'm hitting, how I'm hitting, what mediums, along those lines. And it was kind of initially with the publisher was just like which communities, and they do a post and there's some linked pages and things like that, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. And so I've had to think about more of how do I keep the book out there? How do I keep attention? How do I sustain it? How do I build off of what people are saying with things? And so a plan, it takes some time. You're going to have to figure it out. It's going to be iterative. I know, shocking, right? With those things. Number 2 tip that I realized or learned or I'm grateful for is really making the announcement kind of a big deal, like the release day, a big deal. We had a number of things, but I was actually really lucky. I was working with colleagues of mine with another company that we partner a lot together called Humanizing Work. And I was with them partnering, doing a conference with the day of my book release. So they got champagne, they made a big production. They gave toast. Honestly, the first tip is kind of like what you have to do for the book, but this tip is a little bit just for you, like, right after you're done, after it's released, to have a moment with others just to celebrate, right? To have that, and because there's still a lot of work to go, like I just mentioned, but just to take a moment the day of the release and be with people, like celebrate it. It was awesome. And I'm grateful for that, and grateful to the Humanizing Work crew, as well as Helping Improve was their partnering as well. And just grateful for that moment, that memory for me. Afterwards, the only thing that would have made it better is if Diana had been there, and whatnot with those. So another tip we had was when they give you a number of books, or at least this publisher gave us a number of books to kind of distribute, to try and build some early momentum, some things. And we created this like little insert with our book when we sent it, of just ways to support us, whether it was like, hey, send a message out, hey, put a review on Amazon, hey, like think of a book club, right? But we gave people tactical ways to kind of support us. And I cannot tell you how many people responded to me with that was helpful, because then they could just go down the list and go, oh, okay, I want to do that. Or, oh, I didn't even think about that. Maybe that can be a consideration. And so having that little bit of an insert, because people want to support you, they want to support the book, but they don't always know how or what you want, right? And how you want it done. And so we were a little more explicit about that part. And worked out beautifully. In fact, wish I had one right now. If I had thought in advance, that would have been a good idea, because then I could have showed it, and I did not. Sorry. It's February. Whatever. Third is finding time to go through your book to find quotes that you want. I did not appreciate how hard this was going to be, because for me, I'm like, that's not quote worthy. Like for me, I was like, I don't know. How do you pick out just a quote in the book? So, so I try and find a key sentence, and then it starts the whole like, wow, I wish we would have written that sentence slightly different for quote kind of things. We didn't write the book with quote mind, right? And so just going through the book, trying to find quotes so that you can keep like little promos or little statements or taglines and things along those lines was, one, more time intensive than I thought, two, more difficult to, it seemed arrogant or something to that effect of like, how do I find quotes in my book, right? In hindsight, I think I would have asked for a lot of the early reviewers or people who did reviews or recommendations for us to actually pull out their favorite quote in the book. That would definitely be a change that I did next time, because it would be really valuable to us, but also it doesn't hit on all those weird dynamics. But it helps me to know what is standing out for people, what is quote worthy, if there is, right? So I think next time I would absolutely ask the early reviewers, ask the people to provide that and help me with that, because that would have been very useful. Like we're years in, and we're still like, we're about to do another pass of trying to find other things in the book to help highlight and call attention to. Number 4. Are we on 4? Yeah, we're on 4. I'm telling you. Both Diana Larson and myself have very strong, amazing, beautiful, wonderful, supportive communities and networks. And they showed up for us in so many ways, and I'm so beyond grateful. But it was really hard to hit the networks that you don't, or you're not a part of. I know, obviously, but in my head, that was part of what the publisher was going to help with, was just getting us into some other leadership environments that we were not necessarily connected to. We have such a strong hold and such a strong like love for the Agile community. But there's the other leadership communities out there, and it has and continues to be very difficult to know how to connect into those networks, to know how to market in those networks, to help get the word out in those networks, to publish, and increase your spectrum and range for your book. And I knew it was going to be hard. I hoped that the publisher was going to help more. That hasn't happened as much as I was hoping. And it's just been really hard on that front. That's an area. So if you have tips for that, send them still my way. I think I would have and wished I had been more proactive in trying to figure out how we were going to intentionally connect to different networks, how we were going to reach different communities, versus kind of hoping word of mouth would happen. Although somebody keeps telling me she's right to do some TikTok videos, like with like little things. But I haven't done it yet. I'm in progress. I'm working on it. But apparently TikTok might be my end for that. So that's a tip I've already gotten. I haven't tried it yet. I'm a little afraid of TikTok. I feel like I'm being a little bit of my age at this point, but I'm going to try it and we're going to see and hope. But that's been one of the harder parts for me is expanding beyond our amazing networks, but getting into new networks to promote and to engage with the book in different ways. And then the 5th tip for today, kind of builds off the last one, or at least something I just said in the last one. We really did. I mean, we intentionally reached out to a number of people that were getting the early book or helped us with reviews to appreciate, to acknowledge, to recognize. And we did put the insert in to try and help promote or share out feedback on the book. And I'm not very good at this, but I do need to work on getting better now. Like when I'm at a conference, I just did a keynote at the end of last year, and people are coming up and I'm giving books and I'm like, and people are talking to me about it, but it never occurs to me like, oh, do you want to take a photo and put it on LinkedIn? Do you want to post that on LinkedIn? Like to ask that, like for me, it's like, no, if word of mouth is going to happen, it's just going to magically happen, which it does. But I also need to be okay with requesting a little bit more. It worked. The irony of the tip number, earlier tip with the insert worked so beautifully, and yet I stopped doing it unless I knew you, right? Like, and I think that's one of the areas that I'm going to focus on most this year, in addition to trying to continue to expand in the other networks, is kind of saying, okay, how can I humbly, gracefully, but be willing to kind of ask for that additional support, offer it in different ways. Maybe I just take the insert card with me when I'm at conferences, and when somebody highlights something to me or they compliment or appreciate something, I can highlight that and draw attention to it, because that's part of this, right? And it's part of keeping the momentum for your book, which for some people, they just want to publish and be done. For me, like what we wrote, what we put out there, I'm very passionate about, and I want it helping leaders. I do not want you weaponizing it and putting it on somebody's desk without telling them, like, nope. But which I know actually has already happened. So I'm looking at you. But I do want that message getting out more and more. And so the publishing isn't about, you make actually very little, or at least we are making very little from book sales. Like it's not, and I was told this up front, like you're not writing a nonfiction book for the money, like, or at least not the book sale money. Like it is not what you're doing it for. And I knew that up front. And so I have to disassociate and understand that promoting it isn't about like trying to line my pockets on other people's requests. It's just the reality of getting that message out and promoting it. So, do I start asking and being more aggressive about, availability for keynotes or things along the lines? I don't know. And we'll see. And I'm going to be playing with it. But the purpose of it is to get that message out. And I think the more that I remember that and focus on that, the more that I'm willing to promote and highlight it. Right. And because it doesn't feel about me at that point, it's about the message in the book. And so that's something that I'm still working through and doing, but I just overall did not understand. I was well prepared and understood the amount of work it took to write the book. I had no concept of how much time after to promote and publish, and how much internal stuff I was going to have to mentally work through to be able to do that in a way that honors what we created, honors that message, and puts it out there further. So it's still a learning process for me. I'm still gaining from it. So I'd love to hear your tips as you're going forward with it. Okay. Coming up, I am doing a keynote tied to the book at the end of this month in Cape Town, South Africa, at the Scrum Regional Gathering. So if you're going to be there, please come say hi. I think you should join us. I'm super excited. I will also be at Craft Conference in Budapest in May, talking about managing up. And then I do not till April, but people are already signing up, so don't wait. I do have one virtual facilitation course. How do I get team decisions being made? How do I engage all those voices as a leader? And then I also have Leading Amazing Teams that I run with Jake Calabrese, that we're talking about leaders getting better coaching skills in order to stop being the hub. How do they really get that next level of performance out of people and out of teams? And so those are coming up. They're both virtual in April. And so check those out. I don't have anything near term kind of publicly coming up. Most of my stuff is private. The other thing I want to call attention to, promote is Agile Denver we have just announced we are doing Mile High Agile 2024 on May 15th of this year. So exciting. So happy. So signups are already coming. I don't know where we stand on the limited early bird. So registration. So definitely get on that if you are looking for that May 15th. If you are interested in sponsoring or you think your company would be interested in sponsoring, we already have a couple companies lined up, but we are actively doing that to try and make sure that we can keep the ticket cost low for everybody and we can put on a wonderful community event that is exciting to bring back and have after a couple of years after COVID hiatus. So if you have questions or anything, just ping me, reach out to me. But that's kind of what I've got coming up for the next couple of months publicly. So we'll hopefully see you at one of them. I just realized my next live for this is when I'm in South Africa. I might go live from South Africa. We'll see. We'll see what happens here, people. Brain is spinning right now. live thinking right on air and seeing to everybody who ever needed to hear. See, when I think, I talk. It just comes right out of my mouth. I can't help it. It's just how I work. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you soon.